they don't know how to say no. They will always be available to fulfill their need. And their sexual behavior is really a metaphorical replacement for the emotional bond they wish they had. I'm saying that to say that all of us are parents, and you need to make sure you're loving up on all of your children. And it's important that you don't treat some of your children better than others, because the children you hold up will be brought low by the ones you don't hold up. One of the biggest mistakes black parents make, getting away from the child sex abuse, is comparing siblings with each other. You want to destroy your house? You want to destroy your happy home? Start comparing the brother who doesn't do well to the brother who does extremely well. Start comparing your daughter who's always on honor roll to the one who's always cutting class. You want your children to hate each other? You want the brother and sister to not want to be bothered with one another? Keep on asking the delinquent child why you can't be just like the successful child. Quickest way to destroy a relationship between siblings is to compare them with one another. We have to stop doing that. To my non-custodial parents in the room, mostly men, but we have a lot of non-custodial mothers in the room. I need you to get this point. It's not how often you see your child as it is how much attention you give them when you see them. You got one non-custodial parent, they see their child every weekend, Friday to Sunday. But they're dropping them off all over the place. You're with grandma today, you're with auntie tomorrow, you're with cousin this day. And even when they're in your space, you get your hustle on. You got too much you got to do. So you never pay attention to the child. It looks like you're spending time with them because you got them every weekend, but you're not. Now let's look at parent number two. He only gets his child once a month for a weekend. But when he picked that little girl up at 3 o'clock on Friday until he dropped her off at school 8 o'clock Monday, it's all about her. There's no distractions. There's no girlfriend. There's no wife. There's no homies. There's no drop-offs at grandma. If they do go to visit family, it's only for a moment, and then he's back putting his attention on his daughter. And what we need to understand as black men, we are one of the biggest reasons for teenage pregnancy. Because teenage pregnancy is not about sexually promiscuous girls. One of the biggest rumors and myths about teenage pregnancy is that it's about sexually promiscuous black teens. Wrong. Teenage pregnancy is about girls thirsty not for sex, but for the love of their biological father. And when the girl doesn't get her emotional needs met from her biological father, she will seek to do so to the next best thing, and that's the boys in the neighborhood. She wasn't looking for a baby. She wasn't even looking for sex. She was looking for emotional intimacy. But the father did not provide it. The grandfather did not provide it. The big brother, the uncles, the cousins did not provide it. The men in the community did not provide the healthy emotional intimacy that 15, 16-year-old girl needed. And so she resorted to looking for it from a boy who exploited it into a sexual escapade. The best way black men can prevent teenage pregnancy is to make sure we are filling our daughters up with the positive affirmations and attention that they need, so she'll never get thirsty and start looking somewhere else. Teenage pregnancy is about emotional intimacy, not about sex. Now, with that being said, we have a selfishness issue in the black community on a lot of levels, but one of the levels I'm seeing in my work as a school psychologist is I'm seeing where we have blended families, right, which are good, but we also have not so blended families And these are when the man wants the mother of those two children, but he don't really want the children with her. Or the woman wants that man, but she don't want the 3 children that he has with those other women. And so we start playing games and manipulating the relationship to try to exclude the children that the other person has. And I'm telling you that is anti-African behavior. It is immoral behavior. That is behavior that lacks integrity. That behavior will come back to bite you when your karmic cycle returns. Stop trying to take the mother without the children. Stop trying to take the father without his kids. Every relationship is a package deal if the person has children. And if you don't want the package, then you don't want the mother or the father either. See, when I went through McDonald's last night, and I shouldn't have been there, but the Shamrock Shake grabbed my ass halfway through Broad Street, and the McGriddle slid through the street, and the apple pie said, Ifatunde! And when I got up to the window and paid, I said, you know what? I really just want the filet of fish. But they said it's a deal! You gotta take the fries. If we don't charge you for the fries in the Shamrock, then the filet might almost cost as much as the whole meal. So I said, I don't want to cheat myself. So give me my pie and my shake! And then all the teenagers in the McDonald's said, wait a minute, this Dr. Umar. And I got caught eating that cancer food in front of the kids. But let me get back on it. Brothers and sisters, I don't know if you know, teenage suicide is on the rise. And black girls, 14 to 17, lead the entire country. In the COVID era, 14 to 17-year-old African princesses are taking their lives more than anyone in the country, including white men who have always been at the top of the suicide list. Now, isn't that interesting? Because we've been taught to admire the white male, imitate the white male, study the white male, monkey the white male. Be a capitalist, be a man of control and authority over everybody and everything. And those are the main people kill themselves. White capitalistic men. That's why we got to get back to our African principles. See, once upon a time, money was not more important than relationships to black people. Once upon a time, having your boyfriend and your girlfriend separate from their family was never desirable. But now we live in an era of selfishness where we think acting like white folks is going to make us happy. I can tell you as a therapist, money don't make nobody happy. We need money to get things done. We need money to pay the bills. We need money to raise the children. We need money to build a community. We don't need money to be happy. Emotions come from within. Emotions are based on your interpretations of reality. Emotions have nothing to do with your income, because if it did, the richest people in America would be happier than the poorest. But that's not what the research shows. The research does not show that the wealthiest Americans are happier than the poorest Americans. The research shows that people who have a purpose in life are happier than those who do not. It is purpose that gives you peace. You can take me with what I'm trying to do with the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. And by the way, The school was almost in Trenton before it ended up in Delaware. The two schools we were looking at before we purchased the school in Wilmington, Delaware, in February of 2019, 3 years ago, it was between that school and the one up here in Trenton. In fact, I'm going to tell you the school, because the Roman Catholic Church or whatever church that owns the school didn't want to sell it. What's the name of it? Bless of Sacrament, Adeline. Here you go, right here. 411 Adeline. I went to that school a million times. We had the money for it. They wanted $550,000. The school was clean, good condition. They were also selling the house next to it. And then there was another dorm type house next to that house. So I said, we're going to have the school plus the house. That's going to be mine as the principal. Mid-griddle. And then next to that, a little dorm for the boys who would not be able to go back and forth to home every day. So in other words, you're educating the black boys in Trenton, but if you got some from Newark or Camden and the parents can't get them back and forth, they just stay there. So I was going to get to Trenton school, but guess what? Once they found out who I was, they canceled the deal. And the Jewish realtor, her racist ass, excuse my French, okay, she helped them slam the door on us getting to school. And I think I kind of know why they didn't give it to me. In addition to being Dr. Umar, in addition to building a truly revolutionary academy, that part of Trenton has been marked for gentrification. See, the one thing you got to understand about gentrification, they're not selling black people schools in neighborhoods where they're trying to get rid of black people. I ran into the same thing in Detroit. All these schools in Detroit didn't want to sell me none. Why? They were all in gentrification zones. Ran into the same thing in Chicago. Yes. So you turn on the news and you hear all this story about Philadelphia, all these schools in Newark, New Jersey, all these schools in Detroit. The question isn't how many schools are abandoned. The question is how many schools they're willing to sell to black people. Now, with that being said, I bet you that school's still abandoned. I bet you it's still abandoned. 3 years later. So I'm saying that to say this to y'all who really want us to open up a Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy Trenton. Get on the phone, find out what's going on with the school, use my name, Dr. Umar Johnson from Philadelphia, tried to buy this school back in 2019. Y'all refused to sell it. It's still sitting empty. Now, we ain't giving them a $500,000 no more because it's been 3 years. That's 3 years of deterioration. Are y'all following me? But if they come with a nice little number, I'm not going to throw none out there, then maybe we can do a little fundraiser too, add some of the money we already got saved up, and pick up our second school right here in Trenton, New Jersey. Right? But y'all got to do the work, because I'm tired. I've been fighting coons for 3 years. Cut it out! Everywhere I go, there's a coon. I can't go nowhere without a coon. I'm trying to understand how a community that don't own no schools have people on social network who are experts in opening schools, but you never ran one, never opened one. And then they keep telling me how LeBron James school is up and running before yours. Well, first of all, LeBron James is a billionaire. That's number one. Number two, LeBron James don't have no damn school. The LeBron James School in Akron, Ohio is a government-funded, taxpayer-subsidy public school. The Jalen Rose Academy in Detroit is a government-funded, taxpayer-subsidy charter school. The Sean Puffy Combs School up in Harlem is a government-funded, taxpayer-subsidy charter school. Show me the black celebrity who has his own school. Because what we have in Wilmington, Delaware belongs to us. No white bank loans, no government handouts, no corporate giveaways. 100% that money was raised by black folks. And I want to thank my New Jersey Africans, because you all have been consistent donors. Every time I go to the mailbox, I see Montclair, I see Newark, I see Trenton, I see Camden, I see Willingboro, I see Cherry Hill, I see Jersey City, I see Elizabeth. So Jersey, you have done your job. And that's why it would be good for us to come right back to where we started and get that school and turn it into an academy for our children. Now, with that being said, I want to do a personal invitation to everybody here. I'm hoping everybody here can join us in Wilmington, Delaware on Saturday, September the 10th. We got 4 months. We will be hosting our 2nd annual FDMG Academy Festival.
You know.
Food, games, vendors, prizes, performers, giveaways. We want you there. You can register right now by going to fdmgfestival.com. I repeat, fdmgfestival.com. If you don't register, you don't get your free gift bag. What's in the gift bag? Your FDMG t-shirt, your FDMG visor, your FDMG mug, your FDMG book, your FDMG hand sanitizer, your FDMG wristband. Don't be like some coons who showed up last year. Did not register! Insist on getting rid of my damn bags! All you got to do is go on the internet and register. And make sure you bring your children. Because we have a whole section of the festival dedicated to the young folks where they play the old school game. You know the ones we used to play before Twitter? The ones we used to play before Facebook and video? The hopscotch, the potato sack race, the egg race. We do the basketball shot. We have about 20 games for children of all ages, so bring your babies. And what they do is they win tickets, and they can cash the tickets in at the end of the festival for awards, hoverboards. Sister Shanti's daughter won last year. That's my sister Shanti, that her daughter won. Was it a hoverboard?
The computer.
She got a computer. So please bring the children. Our festival is a very child-friendly festival. Now, before I get into my message for the parents tonight, I want to give you all an update on the status of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Let me dispel some myths, some rumors, and some lies. Okay. On February the 7th of 2019, we bought 2 schools. They're right across the street from each other. You will see both of them on September the 10th. Wow, look at that. I got the FD.
Well, on the site is saying it's an error.
So,
Doc.
yes.
The site, they're going on the site right now and saying it's an error.
She might be updating it. If it says an error, she might be tweaking it. So go to it this evening, fdmgfestival.com. She's going to make, she's adding some pictures to it from last year's festival and some other things like that. So we bought the schools in 2019. Now, believe it or not, brothers and sisters, the schools only need 3 weeks worth of renovations. 3 weeks worth of electric, 3 weeks worth of plumbing, 3 weeks worth of HVAC. That's it. So your question is, Dr. Umar, your school only needs 3 weeks. Why it's been 3 years and no school done? Because you got to depend on Negro contractors. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You give them a $30,000 deposit to fix the electric, and they come for 2 days, and you never see them again. That's what we've been dealing with for 3 years. I could write a whole book on how we've been robbed, taken advantage of, sabotaged by black contractors. The white one's not going to help me because they know who I am. They come to the school, they say, we can do the job. I never hear from them again once they Google my name. So white people are not going to help us open up no black school. So I'm dependent on Negroes who care more about money than the future of our community. And I'm not asking them to work for free. I'm paying them what they're asking for. This is not a freebie. They're being paid commercial price, and I can't get them to come back to work after they get to the deposit. That has been our issue. We had black electricians stole out the school, had to cut their contract. I will be writing a book on surviving FDMG. because y'all need to know the whole story. I can't give it all to you tonight. Just know that we're doing all we can do to get the school done, but what we're not going to do is go out here and waste your donation money trying to get something done fast just to please some Negroes on YouTube who probably home with a fat, nasty white girl anyway. Do you understand what I'm saying? And speaking of that, brothers, any white women here, no disrespect, but I gotta be unapologetic with the black audience. Black men, we have to stop going outside our women to build families. I do not condone interracial marriage, interracial dating, interracial baby making, interracial cohabitation, no type of interracial dating. Not because I hate white folks, I don't hate nobody, but because I love the black woman, I'm committed to the black woman, and if I'm committed to the black family, I have to be committed to the black woman. So you can't say you are for the black family, but your spouse ain't black. That's a contradiction. It's either one or the other. Y'all should see me when I walk through the airport. I was in Detroit 2 weeks ago speaking. And when I go through the airport, right, and I go through this everywhere I go, if there's a black man with a white girl and he sees Dr. Umar coming, he will separate from his Neanderthal queen. He will part like the Red Sea over this way and leave her over there. And then when I'm done passing, he'll join her again. And I'm looking at this coon and I'm saying to myself, if having a white girl ain't wrong, why do you have to act like you're not with her when you see me? I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to say nothing to you. I remember I was in South Africa. I'm in Robben Island visiting Nelson Mandela's prison cell in Robben Island off the coast of Cape Town. And guess who I run into? And I love this brother. He was one of my favorite actors until this. He played in Rosewood. He played in Baby Boy. He played in some of my favorite black movies. And I was so happy to run into my brother Vin Ramos until I saw who he brought with him to South Africa. He had his white Neanderthal. It hurt me. Because when I saw Vin Ramos, he was like an alpha male, masculine black man. I never thought he would have a white wife, but he sure did. And brought her to Africa. What kind of shit is that? And I know he can see the hurt in it. He's like, cause I'm looking at it like, bro, you out there, you like Nat Turner, brother. What's this mayonnaise shit? Brothers, we gotta stop. I don't know if y'all heard about that brother down in Florida who got stabbed to death by his Instagram snow bunny model. She stabbed him to death. The video's on YouTube. Blood all over her body from this black boy. And she don't go to jail. They took her to the mental hospital. She was home in 48 hours and was posting more Instagram pics after she murdered him. And her lawyer said she's not going to go to jail at all because it was self-defense. Oh yeah. What about the NFL football player who beat his black girlfriend half to death? Y'all remember that one? Beat her half to death, punched her all in the face, and the police took forever to arrest her. So I need y'all to understand that even though you're dating white, it's still black. You are not protected. You're not protected. And you black men need to understand that the only white women you're allowed to have anywhere are the white women white men don't want.
That's the only one.
I want you to study the white women you see with black men. And I'm not being disrespectful, I'm being honest. But as you go through the streets of Jersey, I want you to remember what Dr. Umar said. And I want you to look at the white woman that he's with.
That's right.
You never see a black man married to a white woman who has more than him. There's always a game, economic, political, or otherwise. White women are very shrewd in their selections. And rich white people don't think there's something in it. Black women better be careful. Because a lot lot of you are laying down with mayonnaise. Coming up with bugs and shit. And I'm just going to be honest, black woman, you cannot do that. You are the mother of civilization. You are the closest thing to God. You are the only being with the mitochondrial DNA. No black woman should ever part your waters and open up your heaven so a devil can call in. How dare you do that? Something that the white man did whenever he wanted for 400 years to whomsoever he wanted in the black community. And you got the audacity to volunteer your womb so that devil can spray his ancestors all in your heaven. You do know when you have a baby, there's two sets of ancestors coming together. Now, in your group, you got Harriet Tubman and Ida B. Wells and Daniel Hamer and Queen Nzinga and Yahya Santiwa. Who the hell he got? Son of Sam and George Washington and Dylan Ruth. And all Hitler and shit, all up in his 23 chromosomes of death. That's why some of our mixed race brothers and sisters be so messed up. Because they got God gene and Satan gene all in the same body. Now, I don't discriminate, though, against my mixed race brothers and sisters. I treat them as African, like everybody else. I don't discriminate. But I need my mixed race Africans to make a decision. Are you a biracial or is your ass black? Because what I noticed is some of the mixed race brothers and sisters will claim biracial because they don't want to be identified with the rest of us. Y'all see that? They want to evoke that privilege. A privilege that never comes. America, they didn't do to us like they did in the Caribbean Islands. In the Caribbean, you could be a mulatto, an octoroon, a quadroon. America, they just said black or white. That means if your mother white and your daddy black, you're still Negro. They don't play them games. They don't get me wrong. They play light skin supremacy games on us. But it's not because white people think light skin blacks are better or mixed race blacks are better. The reason they do that is because everybody knows white supremacy is kept together by what? Divide and conquer, separate and rule of the oppressed group. See, this is a problem that our black celebrities don't get. They think that they get to a certain point and white people forget they're black. Bill Cosby went through that. See, Bill Cosby said, I'm a billionaire. And me and Bill Cosby from the same North Philadelphia neighborhood. So Bill Cosby said, since I got all this money and all this power, I could start doing what Donald Trump do. Grabbing cookies all around me. Right? So Bill Cosby started grabbing those old crusty, stale-ass vanilla cookies. And then all of a sudden, the second largest oil company in the world found out that Bill and Camille had a house in Massachusetts sitting on top of some unrefined oil. And the oil company came to Bill and Camille and said, can we buy the house? They said, we're not selling it. Can we drill under the house? He said, no. So they said, we're going to go to their neighbors. Let's go talk to the neighbors. And so Bill and Camille organized the whole community against letting the oil company drill under their homes. So they said, we got to get rid of this. He's stopping the money train. So you know what they said? What can we do to Bill Cosby? We know, go back to all those ugly white girls. Get on 100 of them stale-ass devils. And tell them Bill Cosby sexually assaulted them 40 years ago. Now, you're out of your mind if you think a white woman gets sexually abused by a black man. The #1 television black star in the country. Bill Cosby opened the door for Richard Pryor. That's how significant Bill Cosby is. If there was no Bill Cosby, there would have never been the greatest of all time, Richard Pryor, who also married a damn snow bunny. Yes, he did. Okay? See, so Bill Cosby is significant when it comes to black in the entertainment business.
So they got all these nasty white girls together, and they all said Bill Cosby sexually abused us. No proof, no evidence. And did you see the lead woman? The main woman accusing Bill Cosby was this masculine woman. Mike Tyson neck, with a back like a linebacker. And I said to myself, go Philly too, just like Bill Cosby. We don't like this kind of shit. We like curvy, thick black girls. That no masculine ass, 12-pack stomach white girl. No. Now don't get me wrong, I don't want to trivialize sex abuse against any woman, black or white. Because it's a hell of a thing for a woman to be abused. You never get over that post-traumatic stress. But you're not going to tell me that a black man sexually molested you and you went back to his home again. You kept company with him again. You stayed in contact with him again. You asked for favors from him again. Why did the relationship continue if he did this to you? The truth of the matter is Bill Cosby was set up by the oil company and he used the white women to do it. The purpose was to do what, y'all? Drain him and Camille of their wealth through legal fees. So they would have to sell the house so the white man could get the money. That's the way this game goes, y'all. White folks will use you and kill you. Guess where I was when I got the word Michael Jackson was murdered? I was right here in Trenton. During my internship, 2009, I was at a good brother's house testing his daughter, giving her an intelligence test because we believe she may have been mentally gifted. And so I'm in Trenton, New Jersey. And I forget the month. Anybody remember the month Mike died in? June 25th. I was in Trenton, finishing up my intern, which would end in August. And I'm testing a little princess, very intelligent princess, giving her the IQ test. And I got the alert on my cell phone that Michael Jackson had been murdered. Why? Not because of no overdose by accident. It was intentional murder. Because Michael Jackson didn't want to give Sony Records the Beatles catalog. Sony Records wanted the catalog. Mike said no. He said, I'm going to go on tour, raise the money, pay y'all off, and I'm going to keep my Beatles. And they said, we got to kill him before he goes on tour. And they paid that black doctor to kill him. Do you know that black doctor, only spent 2 years in jail? Who you know kills the #1 entertainer in world history? Highest selling musician of all time. And you're home in 2 years because the music company did him in. Who killed Prince? Warner Brothers killed Prince. Because Prince didn't want to give them access to all the unreleased music. Prince and Tupac had more unreleased music than released music. Which is another reason why Tupac had to go. Because he wanted to start an independent label. And Interscope couldn't have that. They wanted some of the Tupac money, so he had to die. Prince died for the same reason. Big mistake Prince made. He went back to the table when Warner Brothers asked his permission to re-edit the 25th anniversary album for Purple Rain. That was the deal. Let us do Purple Rain 25th anniversary, and we want to give you all your masters back. They distracted Prince with the masters. Because Prince always wanted his masters. Prince was not thinking about, they don't care about they want the new shit. They don't care about, they already sucked that drop. They want the new stuff. But Prince got caught up in his emotions. I'm finally going to own my masters. Next thing you know, he dead by injection. We know Eazy-E was murdered by injection. And then Ice Cube came out with an album called Lethal Injection. And then Kobe Bryant drops to his death mysteriously from a helicopter. And they're still saying they don't know that. Because you do know that. Why did they kill Kobe Bryant? The NBA and Nike killed Kobe. Why did the NBA want Kobe dead? Because Kobe was about to start his own professional basketball association based in China. Why did Nike need Kobe dead? Kobe was ending his contract with Nike, and he was starting his own player-owned sneaker brand. He was scheduled to pick the first pair of the sneakers for the new brand within a week after he died. They had to kill Kobe when they killed Kobe. And they made LeBron James wear Kobe's number in Kobe's hometown of Philadelphia on his sneakers the night before Kobe died. And if you think that's a coincidence, you're crazy. Because white power is based on demonology and ritualism. So they do things at a certain date, they do things at a certain time, and they do things with certain symbols to let other members of the power structure know that was intentional. That wasn't Mother Nature. But the problem with black people is we don't want to use our unseen forces. See, the white man calls for his ancestors. Every building in Trenton is named after some damn devil who was an enemy of black folks. He put his ancestors on his money. He put his ancestors on his buildings. Every time the white man is about to make a major change, he consults the forces of evil. But every time it's time for something you to do, you don't consult the forces of evil. Because we go to church and masjid. And there's nothing wrong with church and masjid. I was raised in the Baptist church, in the Sunni Islamic Orthodox masjid. Nothing's wrong with the religion, except they brainwash black people to think ancestral communication is evil when it is not. Ancestral communication is divine. Because in our culture, God sends back your departed relatives to help you fulfill your destiny. We don't worship our ancestors. We honor our ancestors. We only worship God. So if you never call on your ancestors for wisdom, if you never call on your ancestors for insight or foresight or protection, don't ask yourself why black people lose. Because white folks are using their ancestors and you're not using yours. Everybody talking about Roe versus Wade. The Supreme Court is about to overturn one of the most historic decisions in America. For the first time, the court, which has always been pro-choice, according to the interpretation of the Constitution, is now about to become pro-life. The question for all of you, why is the American white, after all these centuries, finally wanting to put a ban on abortion? I'm going to tell you why. Because 25 of 50 United States have a white population crisis. More white people are passing on than are being born in 25 of 50 states. This is why you see all these articles. American whites are dwindling. They will soon be a minority. They already are. But they're going to be an even bigger one. And I'm wishing nothing on them. But isn't it interesting, though, that they've been spending decades trying to get rid of black folks? Abortion, hysterectomy, black on black crime with white guns, mass incarceration, poor diet, poor health, environmental racism. They've been trying to get rid of black folks and slavery ended. And look at Mother Nature getting rid of you as you try to get rid of our first children. Look at the wisdom of that. And guess what? You heard it from me first. There will be a backlash by white folks against the rainbow agenda. Because the rainbow agenda is one of the biggest reasons their population is. See, they dropped the rainbow agenda to brainwash our kids away from black family creation. But they failed to recognize that you can't control that type of propaganda. The white kids are sucking it up too in deciding not to have children. So now the white man is looking like our own rainbow agenda that we wanted to use against the blacks is creating genocide for us whites. So I'm telling you, in the next 10 to 20 years, it may take a little while. They're going to push back against the whole rainbow agenda because the first rule of survival, the first rule of existence is survival. And the white man would rather be alive than push the rainbow agenda. So, Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned because the white man is paranoid about becoming extinct in a country where he murdered millions to take it over. That's why they want to overturn it. Now, I know what you black women say, well, wait a minute, Doc. Don't that mean they're looking out for black life? Because if they can't give out abortions, that means black women can't get them. Didn't you say Planned Parenthood was started to get rid of black babies? Yes, I did. Didn't you say that Margaret Sanger said the whole purpose of the Planned Parenthood clinic was to get rid of useless black eaters? Yes. So then how do you explain the overturn of Roe versus Wade when it's going to stop black abortion? My answer to that is twofold, black woman and man. Number one, do you really think they're going to stop killing black babies because they overturned Roe versus Wade? Do you know black women in America have the highest infant mortality rate of all industrialized nations in the world? They already killing your baby at the delivery table. They don't need an abortion clinic. It's not going to stop black death. It's only going to promote white life. And in addition to that, if they want to force you to have your black child against your will, there's a reason for that too. Are you aware that about 5,000 black women get kidnapped every year in this country? Do you know how happy the government would be to know they don't have to kidnap no more black girls? All they have to do is wait for you to give birth to one and then make it the property of the state, grow it up, nurture it, inject it with all the hormones they want, and then use your baby you didn't want as a research monkey for white science. All the black babies that would have been aborted will now be a part of the living science lab of the white man. This is not a victory for them. This is a way for them to increase the number of living lab rats they need to improve their biological weapons. What do you think COVID-19 was? That was a biological weapon. Biological weapon. Look at all the black people who have died. The past 2 years, I probably got a text message at least once a week. Somebody I know lost a loved one to COVID. And then there was pain in the hospitals to kill you and say you had COVID. So the hospitals was killing black folks and then say it was COVID so they didn't get the government subsidy. And why am I disappointed in that? Black people in America once owned and operated more than 500 hospitals. Did you know that? I'm going to say it again. You've only been here post-British North America for 403 years. We're older than that. We were here before that, but under white rule, you owned and operated 500 independent black hospitals. Where are they now? In Philadelphia, we used to have the Frederick Douglass Hospital. You know what happened to Frederick Douglass Hospital? The same thing that happened to a lot of black Wall Streets. The same thing happened to a lot of historically black colleges. Negroes would rather live with white folks who don't want them. They control their own reality. See, your biggest problem after the white man is your own brain. We are lustful for white company. And the reason we're behind every group in America is everybody who comes to America is looking to build an independent community. What do the Chinese do when they show up in Jersey? What do the Arabs do when they show up in Jersey? What do the Mexicans do when they show up in Jersey? What do the Latinos do when they show up in Jersey? What do the European Jews do when they show up in Jersey? Why did they want to sell me that school? Because this is ours. We want no outsiders, especially y'all. So every other group in America is trying to build a Wall Street for themselves. A Chinese Wall Street, Arab Wall Street, Jewish Wall Street, Italian Wall Street, East Indian Wall Street. You don't want your own community in Trenton. You want to be accepted by the whites. Soon when a Negro gets a second master's degree, you got to move with white folks. Look at all the guilty laughs in his mother. Damn, you love you some white folks. And now your child is going to suffer cultural, social hypnosis and self-hatred because mommy and daddy got to live next to white folks to feel like a success. And guess what, black parents? The worst thing you can do is take a black kid from a little inner city ghetto school in Trenton and take him out. What's the major white suburb of Trenton? Princeton. Oh, you got ideas. And move out to Princeton and put your kid in a public or private school in Princeton, and guess what? He's more likely to be special educated. He's more likely to be ADHD evaluated. He's more likely to be psychiatrically medicated. This whole school to prison pipeline, this whole psychoacademic holocaust, this whole special ed, conduct disorder, learning disability, oppositional defiant disorder, emotional disturbance, nonsense, could not work without the participation of black parents who believe anything white people say. I know it's the truth. Even when I did my internship in Trenton, I used to pull the parents to the side. I tested your son. I'm a certified school psychologist. I tested your son. That boy is not retarded. But you know what the problem was with me telling a black mother at the Ewing Residential Treatment Center, 1610 Stuyvesant Avenue, that her son was not retarded? She was getting a check from the state. An SSI check convinced her to let this innocent black boy believe he was retarded so she can get $750 a week. Stop hustling your damn children for special ed dollars. Isn't it ironic that we live in a country with the highest incarceration rate in the world? In the world, disproportionately black. And most of the men in jail are there for non-violent drug-related offenses. They're there for selling crack. But you will take that black man and put him in prison for 10 to 20 years for some crack. But you will take that same crack he sold, give it to his son, call it Ritalin, call it Adderall, call it Concerta, call it Medicaid, and you will get that black boy 5 grams of crack every day so he can sit still long enough to learn about Helen Keller, Anne Frank, and Christopher Columbus. If crack is no good, if crack can get me 10 years in jail, how in the hell can it be okay for my son to take it for school? But the drug companies, who all trade publicly in Wall Street, some of you Negroes got investment stock in the damn drug companies. Your retirement is based off black boys getting hooked on drugs. Shame on your black ass. Start picking the companies you invest in with a little bit of racial integrity. $30 billion a year is what they make off that. $30 billion on black mothers and fathers letting white school teachers in New Jersey convince them that Raheem need medication to get an education. You don't need medication to work. You don't need medication to drive. You don't need medication to live. Why the hell do you need medication to be educated in an underfunded, underachieving school district? I'm here to tell you today, I'm the only psychologist in American history to ever tell you. I have a lot of great forefathers in psychology. Dr. Naeem Akbar, one of my favorites. Yes. Dr. Wayne Knowles. Psychiatrist Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing. Dr. Bobby Rush. And I can go on and on with all the black psychologists who predate me, some still with us in the flesh. But I'm the first one. Dr. Clark wasn't a psychologist. I'm the first one to tell you that special ed is a hustle. I'm the first one to tell you ADHD is a scam. And I'm the only one to tell you that the learning disability is a fraud. That's right. Wait a minute, Dr. Umar, my son got a learning disability. No, he don't. He got a lazy ass disability. That was making sense. So wait a minute, Dr. Umar. Umar, what are you saying now? That Raheem ain't struggling because he can't learn? He's struggling because he don't care to learn. Do y'all see the difference there? Your daughter got an IEP for math because she can't quite grasp algebra. Is it that Shaquita can't quite grasp the algebra, or does Shaquita have better things to do with her time? See, the problem with black children is not no learning disability. It's a sloppy and lazy disability. And I blame y'all for that. Show me a lazy child, there must be a lazy parent. Show me an underachieving child, there must be an underachieving parent. Which is why Dr. Umar was the director of special education services for the United States of America. We would not label the child, we would label the parents they come from. Do you know when I'm in school, fighting to save our boys and girls from misdiagnosed reading problems and misdiagnosed math problems and misdiagnosed intellectual problems and misdiagnosed emotional problems and misdiagnosed behavior problems? I'm not arguing with white folks. I'll take one of the waters we got on Gatorade, somebody can give me some. Thank you. I don't argue with white folks. White folks leave me alone. When I come to the school with my kente tie and my garlic bread and crackers, they give him what he wants. I gotta argue with y'all. I almost had to fight a father. And true story, I almost had to fight a black police coon father at an evaluation review meeting because I had to convince him, your son can learn just fine, sir. He's lazy. And the problem is you and his mother keep making him lazy by telling him he can't. The worst thing you can do as a black parent in America is tell these babies you can't. Those two words should be illegal in a black home. You can't. You don't tell a 6-year-old boy you can't sit still. You don't tell a 7-year-old girl you can't count. You don't tell an 8-year-old you can't read. Because guess what? That's exactly why folks want you to tell them. Because once the black parent is convinced that their child can be nothing but a McDonald's worker, and I'm not knocking that. I think it's a good thing for kids to work at McDonald's when they're young, so they can know they don't want to work there forever. You know what I'm saying? There's dignity in every kind of labor. But we are raising a whole generation of black boys and girls who think they can sneak and cheat their way through white supremacy. Black mother and father, listen to me, New Jersey. If your child is failing a class in school and they have a cell phone in their pocket, you ain't doing your damn job. If your child is failing a class in school and they got an Instagram account, Snapchat account, TikTok, Facebook, and they still got an account and they failing, your son's still on the football team, but he fell in a major class. How? How is there a video game unit in a house with a kid fell in a grade? Black mother, don't let them turn you into an incubator for prison. Because a lot of our homes are nothing more than incubators for prison. If I leave here right now and go to your house in Trenton, and I was in a lot of them from 2008 to 2009, but it's the same back home in Philly. It's the same when I go to San Diego and LA and Oakland this month and back to Atlanta. It's the same there too. Whenever I go into a black house, I look for the number of books in that home. That's right. If I go to your Trenton house right now, is there a bookshelf anywhere in there with nonfiction, grade appropriate reading material? Do you have a dictionary with more than 100 pages in it? That's right. Do you have a thesaurus with more than 100 pages? Do you have a complete set of encyclopedia A through Z? And don't tell me it's about money. My mother bought my first set of encyclopedia from the Goodwill at Broad and Poplar, a few blocks from Bill Cosby's childhood home. I still have it today. My mother paid $20 for the whole set, and they gave her a couple of free ones. So don't tell me you need money to properly educate a child. You need commitment. See, I would never question a mother's love for her child. I would never question a father's love for his child. But I will question your commitment. Oh, yes. You mean to tell me to one of these schools in Trenton, and after 30 minutes of brainwash, you signed that permission to evaluate? And stop telling me, Dr. Umar, they put my child in special ed. Dr. Umar, they said my son got ADHD. Dr. Umar, they said he's emotionally disturbed, intellectually disabled, conduct. Well, guess what? You got to sign your name 4 times before your child can go to a special ed class. Listen to me, New Jersey. You have to sign your name 4 different times before I can take that child from the regular class and put him in a special class. First signature, permission for the permission. Number 2, once I produce my psychological evaluation, you have to sign agreement. Number 3, once we do the IEP, incarceration education preparation, you got to sign the IEP, and then your final 4th signature for your kid to go to special ed is the special ed service agreement. Without that special ed service agreement, without that IEP, without that permission, without that psychological eval, there is no special ed for your child. So don't tell me what Trenton schools did. Tell me what you did, because if you didn't sign it, they could have never did it to you. And let's Trenton, former capital of the United States of America. Why must the schools in New Jersey fail? Because, see, they want you to think the schools are failing because you ain't married. The schools are failing because the father in jail. The schools are failing because kids live in poverty. The schools are failing because they want to be basketball players. The schools are failing because they listen to too much of Wayne. Those are not causes. Those are symptoms. You know why the schools in New Jersey are failing? Same reason why they failing in Philly and Detroit and Chicago and everywhere else. They have to, in order to protect the privilege of white children. See, New Jersey is a relatively small state. To make sure the white boys and girls control the money, control the institutions, control the banks, control the politics, they got to make sure the black kids don't know what the hell to do. This is about protecting white privilege. So until you open your own school, schools fail on purpose. If I had a conversation with the superintendent of Trenton Public Schools and he said, Dr. Umar, what can I do? 3 things, sir. You can fix this overnight. Give every black boy in Trenton a heterosexual black male classroom teacher. Not assistant teacher, not lunchroom aide, not gym teacher, not probation officer, classroom instructor. Heterosexual black male. If you give every black boy in Trenton a black male teacher, test scores will go up overnight. Special ed will go down overnight. Dropout will go down overnight. They know how to fix this problem. But the problem is public education is, has been, and shall ever be a white woman's employment bank. Most teachers in America are racist white women. And in order to properly educate the black boys, you have to lay off the white girls. America will never inconvenience a white woman for the best interest of a black boy. Why do you think I quit being a principal back in Philadelphia? Because what they do, and if there's any black principals in here, raise your hand. Any other principals in here besides me? Assistant principals? They too scared to come. But my educators. See, the principals will come to my lectures. Because by the time you're done listening to me, you're going to have some questions for them about it. School board members don't like to come to my lectures. Isn't it amazing that one of the top black educators in the country can't give a lecture inside of the school because they're too afraid I'm going to expose the wrong. And what's the main thing they don't want me to tell you? I'm going to tell you how they get paid. Oh yes. Special ed is a business. Special ed is a racket. Special ed is a hustle of making money off black kids you know you never taught. Oh yeah. Let me give you an example. The state of New Jersey spends about $9,000 per public education pupil. Roughly. The minute I evaluate him or her, and I say, he got a speech and language impairment, he's autistic, he's blind, he's deaf, he has a brain injury, he has an orthopedic impairment, he's autistic, he's learning disabled, he's emotionally disturbed, he has a developmental delay or an intellectual disability. The minute I put one of those 13 federal disabilities on your child, his name goes into a computer. Transferred down to New Jersey State Department of Ed, and by the end of the month, Trenton Schools gets a welfare check in your son's name. Oh yes. Why do you put so many black boys in special ed? Because it's the quickest way to get a financial reimbursement. It's a stimulus package. And you black parents better stop letting these white folks con you into putting your kids in special ed so they can get paid. Let me give you an example. Your son is in the 2nd grade. You got him tested for learning, reading, math, emotional, ADHD, intellectual, whatever nonsense you chose. He's in the 2nd grade. How many more years of school he got? 10. If the special ed kids are worth an extra $9,000 to $10,000 a year, and he got another 10 years of school, how much extra money is he worth to Trenton? $100,000 for one black boy. What about 100 of them? What about 1,000 of them? Do we even know how many black kids in special ed in Trenton, New Jersey? Do we even know what the special ed budget is in Trenton, New Jersey? I wonder how many white people living up in Trenton off of your child's misdiagnosis. This is why they don't like black psychologists, school psychologists. There and let these white folks put this innocent little kid in special ed just because he's black. That's right. See, they don't tell you they're doing it because they're black, but that's why they're doing it. Why would you take a black kid to a white person and ask the white person what's wrong with the black kid? And that's exactly what you coons do. How can white psychology fix our problems when white psychology created our problems? Let me ask you a question. Who invented the Adolf Hitler master race theory? Joseph Goebbels, a white psychologist. Who invented South Africa's apartheid system? A white psychologist. Who invented the system from right here in New Jersey, Violin, New Jersey? Henry H. Goddard was the devil of New Jersey who went to France, got the first IQ test from Simon Binet, brought it back to New Jersey, and used it to castigate black kids and keep them away from getting a sufficient education. New Jersey. So what I want to do, I want to give my black parents some rules you can use to deal with the schools. And I'm hoping if you have a child who has not yet graduated high school, whether you're pregnant with one, or you got a preschooler, or a middle schooler, or a 3rd grader, or a 12th grader, you better think about getting one of those 500-page books back in. Because that book gives you all the answers you need to deal with your child. The school wants your kid in special ed. You don't want them in special ed. How do you respond? I got the letter in that book. Your child got a speech and language problem. You've been for a speech and language eval for 5 years. Baby's still stuttering. What do you do? I got the letter in that book. Your child needs special ed, been in special ed, still can't read after 10 years of special ed. Do you know what you're entitled to? What does the federal government of the United States entitle a parent of a special ed child in this country to? If you can prove Trenton Public Schools did not give your special learner the education he needed, they have to pay for him to go to a private school. Raise your hand if you got an empty seat next to you. Raise your hand if you got, I see some of y'all standing, these hands are empty seats. There's empty seats on the front row, ladies. Come have a seat if you like to sit. We got seats in here. No need to stand. No need to stand. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. that you need to buy if you're a parent of a child who has not yet graduated high school. My book is more important because it has, but this book is just as important because this is the Bible of mental health. Every diagnosis we use comes right out of this purple book with the white letters. It's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. This is the book with bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, anxiety disorders. You need this book because it has your ADHD in it, it has your conduct disorder in it, and you need to get familiar with the labels they use in the stores. You use one for $30. You don't need the big version. That looks like $200. It ain't no need for that. I'm not buying it my damn self. Who's on the back of this book? Who's that white man on the back of this book? He's on the back of every DSM. His name was Benjamin Rush. He was a signer of the Declaration of Independence. He was the dean of medicine at Pennsylvania Hospital, and he was a racist slave-owning psychiatrist, the father of psychiatry in America, who used to diagnose enslaved Africans with a disease called nigritude. What was nigritude according to this white man? Nigritude was a disease that rendered the brain of the African useless and feeble. He said black skin was a symptom of nigritude. He said the blacker they are, the more retarded they are. He told white people, don't rub up against black people or you will get nigritude. His face is on the back of the book. What is your point, Dr. Umar? My point is that psychiatry is a weapon of behavioral control. Psychiatry is a weapon of behavioral control. What do you mean? I'm going to tell you what I mean. If there's anybody in here taking psychiatric medication, you cannot legally own a firearm. Let me say it again. If you are taking psychiatric medication, you are not allowed to own or carry a firearm. If you've ever been admitted to a mental health hospital, you can also have your right to carry revoked. All of you who are drugging up your sons so white women don't have to be bothered with them, your little black boy diagnosed with bipolar and borderline and psychotic disorder and anxiety disorder, your little black son will not be allowed to carry a weapon when he becomes an adult because mommy and daddy sold him to the drug cartel. Where my marijuana people at? Do you know if you got a recreational marijuana card in most states, you cannot own a firearm? Yes! Oh, and by the way, my weed heads, I thank God. The only thing I'm addicted to is ginger ale, Little Debbie zebra cakes, and 5-5 thicker than 5-6. Stay focused. Consciousness over cookies. Brothers and sisters, if you are a marijuana smoker, please be careful. There's a whole new stream of evidence coming out now that the marijuana you're smoking is not even marijuana. China is producing artificial weed, and they're producing artificial cannabinoids, and they spray the fake weed with the fake cannabinoids. And check this out. The cannabinoids coming out of China make the weed smell fresher and more potent than the natural weed. And guess what? The cannabinoids that they're spraying on the marijuana are so toxic that they can induce a psychotic episode and permanent schizophrenia. Oh yes. In other words, what the opioid crisis is doing right now, the marijuana crisis is about to start doing next. If you ain't growing your own weed or know somebody who's growing their own weed and you know they got real seeds, you you are about to be the next crisis in this country. Kick your addiction while you still have a chance. And why are we addicted anyway? Do you know what an addiction is? Shopping addiction, food addiction, sex addiction, weed addiction. People who are addicted are people who have a problem. They don't have the willpower to conquer, and instead they choose to medicate it by doing the same thing over and over. Alcohol ain't gonna stop your problem. Cigarette smoking ain't gonna stop your problem. Fake marijuana ain't gonna stop your problem. Five thicker than five. You know what I tell my patients in therapy? You know what I tell my life coaching clients? And if any of you need a life coaching session with Dr. Umar, you're gonna have my number. And I do relationship coaching too for some of y'all couples who keep cheating on each other. Let's talk about it. See, listen, let me give you a quick little relationship thing. Real quick. If you don't like living with yourself, how the hell are you going to find somebody to live with you? If you don't like yourself, why should somebody else bother liking you? Black woman, your husband is not your father and he don't want it. Black man, your wife is not your mother and she don't want it. Stop using relationships as a drug. Some of us date not because we're looking to build with somebody else. We're looking to have that other person distract us from our personal problems. He made me miserable. No! Your ass was on fire. See, when you date somebody, now we're looking at the wrong stuff. How much money they make, how many kids they got, what the credit look like. Don't get me wrong, they're important. But the main thing I'm looking at, are you at peace with yourself? Because let me tell you what's floating around Trenton, New Jersey. Y'all got spiritual vampires floating around. Half of y'all in here, soon you hit the door, your ass gonna turn into a bat and fly home. Because there's a spiritual vampire is a spiritually sick African who don't want to deal with their own childhood traumas. Instead, they want to find some innocent person from the opposite sex and they want to drop all their emotional baggage off on your steps and give you the responsibility of making a miserable person happy. Oh, yes. See, every woman needed a love affair with her father. Not sex, intimacy. If a woman had an intimate relationship with her father, not only can she love strongly, she can let go easily. If a man had a real love affair with his mother, not sex, intimacy, he can love a woman fully and let her go if he knows this is not the one for him. See, we always talk about finding relationships, but there's an art to leaving them too. And the reason why a lot of us don't leave a bad situation is because of that damn toxic bedroom you got. Look how quiet it got. She about to pass out. Tell him, sister! Tell him! Free your soul! See, when the physical is attracted to us, when that woman can do tricks that Barnum and Bailey don't even do that sex, you start trying to make a bad mate look like a good one because you like the perks that come with it. See, when a black woman likes where he can take her psychologically, she'll start making a Negro who ain't worth a second of the time look like he's the Don Juan. That's why back home in Africa, we didn't get married. We didn't have physical till we was married. And many of us suffer from the curse of premature experiences. Because guess what? You found you a good man. He's a hard-working man, pay the bills, he don't cheat, help you with your kids, and you call him boring. Oh, he's boring. I need more excitement. The last one, get your ass. Yeah. You found a great one. And because he's great, you don't want him. Black woman, you gotta get your priorities right.
That's right.
Because a lot of y'all pass up good men every day because he ain't got the right amount of swag. And don't get me wrong, swag matters. But it cannot be the ruling determination on whether you spend the rest of your life by yourself. Because see, sisters, you can't do what the white girls do. The whole society is made for the white male. So she can wait till she's 40 and 50. There'll still be white men for her if they're not gay yet. You can't do that. Because there's a war against black men that's sending us to the prison and to the cemetery premature. So my 25-year-old sisters, don't wait till you're 35 to start thinking about settling down. My 35-year-old sisters, don't wait till you're 45. My 45-year-old sisters, don't wait till you're 55. Now don't get me wrong, black don't crack. It don't. Physically. But psychologically, the older you get, the crazier some of y'all get. Black man, if her eyebrows is off, don't date a woman with no dead eyebrows. You go to dinner and she don't blink, pay for the bill. Send her to Uber Eats and get your ass out the restaurant. And my sisters in your 40s, calm down. Y'all go on the dates with the brothers, and it's like we running a damn race around the Olympic track. We need to be pregnant by September. We need to be engaged by next summer. And you done gave my whole life a plan. Slow down. Remember, ladies, the desperate woman always finishes last. The most attractive thing you have is your self-confidence. Don't put all that money in no new breasts. Don't put all that money in no new body. Put that money into your life. Invest in that. But for my single black mothers, a word of warning. Raise your hand if you got seats next to you one more time, family. Raise your hand if you got seats. Those who want to sit, come have a seat if you like to. For my single mothers, raising boys, you're doing a good job. Thank you. But I need some of y'all to do a little bit better. Because some of my Trenton mothers, you raising your daughters to be responsible and independent, and you raising your son for the prison. Stop loving him, raise him. Stop spoiling your son. How can you afford to spoil a black boy in racist America? He gotta be twice as good to get half as much. And you got Raheem thinking his mama gonna always be there. You ain't gonna always be there. One day you got to go back to the ancestors. And not everybody's meant to live 100 years. The most important job of a black parent is what? Teach your child discipline. When your child leaves your house, they gotta have the discipline to make it on their own. Do they have sexual discipline, emotional discipline, financial discipline, academic discipline, entrepreneurial discipline? And if your child ain't got that, you have failed. I don't give a damn how many pair of Air Jordans he got in his room.
Come on.
And what is Dr. Umar's definition of discipline? It's the ability for your child to do what needs to be done when it gotta be done, whether they like it or not. See, many of you are raising kids who only do what they want to do when they feel like it. How can you be black in America and only do what you feel like it? You think I like driving up the Trenton every day for 365 days to deal with a white racist internship supervisor and a white skinny ugly co-intern. Flat as hell. Nothing to look at. Nothing! Look like a stale-ass Chico stick. You know how many days I'm telling y'all the truth? I would go into the bathroom. I'm telling you, at Lewis Residential Treatment Center, and I would say, should I just walk off this month? I'm telling you, sometimes I can't take this damn cracker. I'm either gonna crack him or crack out. It took me on the phone talking to my mother, on the phone talking to my elders. Umar, don't quit. And I stayed with it, but I didn't want to keep going there, y'all, because I saw what they was doing to y'all kids. And they wanted me to go along with it. But you gotta learn how to do what you don't want to do. To be in a position to do what you want to do. Black men, we are the reason Trenton is out of control. Yes! Black men, not women. I'm talking to brothers who consider themselves men. There's no way in hell 15 and 16 and 17-year-old boys should be terrorizing a whole damn city and we're not doing nothing about it. Black men gotta take the black community back. Not just in Trenton. We gotta do it in New York. We gotta do it in Atlanta. We gotta do it in D.C. Black men gotta take the streets back. And until we come together as men and let the whole community know, it's over. It's over. See, my problem with black crime, it got no rules. Italian crime got rules. Irish crime got rules. Jewish crime, Chinese crime. What's the first rule? No women, no children, no elders. But every time we shoot up the hood, we killing women, children, and elders. Can we at least agree that they are off limits? How are we going to expect other people to respect us if we don't respect ourselves? Black men, I don't believe in violence. I hope I never have to use those guns that I own. But I understand that violence is a part of manhood. And sometimes, brothers, we have to use our divine violence to restore divine order. And if we don't get there soon, the white man is going to come in with his military and they're going to kill everybody. Trenton, I know it's bad. Just like it is in Philly. But don't you ever get so desperate that you go to your mayor or your governor and beg for the National Guard to come to your city. Because when they come, they kill anything moving that's black. Don't let your fear lead you to relinquishing your freedom. Black men gotta fix this problem. And black men, we should be going to all the mothers who got boys without a father in the house, helping them raise them. And you should not be looking for anything from the mother in return. Because I had a mother who cried to me on the phone about a year ago. Her son had a great role model, a big brother, but he only wanted the mother the whole time. And he finally proposed to the mother. She told him he wasn't interested. He never saw her son again. Do you know how much damage that would have done to that boy? We got to do better. And I'm going to tell you something else. One of the things I hated the most about Ewing Residential Treatment Center was how we would just give people kids away to the system. A lot of them kids should have been in their relatives' homes. A lot of them kids should have been in their neighbors' homes. Do you remember back when we were growing up? And I'm only in my 40s, but I'm still young enough to remember a time where you never called DIFUS to get a child because the mother is turning tricks or the father cracked out. We would take the child in our house. Y'all remember that? How many of us was raised by the neighbor's family? How many of us was raised because black men and black women on the block wouldn't dare send us to a white man? But how many of us are willing to take little kids into our home? And now we got a plethora of black children who ain't got no home.
That's right.
DIFUS. And I know it's not DIFUS no more. They changed the name to make you think they're doing better. Bullshit. But y'all got hundreds of black kids who need a place to stay, y'all. So I want to motivate everybody here to think about being a foster parent. Temporary. It ain't got to be forever. Do it for 3 months. Do it for 6 months. Do it for a year. Because our children got to know what love is. And the reason they can kill each other the way they do it in Black America is because if you ain't never felt no love, how the hell do you get it back? The reason I'm not going to adopt is because I'm opening up your school in Delaware. And unfortunately, one thing I know, having been a school administrator, parents die. And when they die, I don't plan on giving none of my children to the system. We want to build a dorm, an apartment, and they're going to come and live with me. I'm not giving our kids away to nobody. We got to do that. And for my mothers in here, I do want you to know that after 5 years, we plan to have, maybe sooner, but after 5 years, we do have the plan to have the Princess Academy. The Anna Douglas and Amy Garvey Princess Academy. And guess what else, Trenton? Don't hold me to this. In fact, we will find out right now. I want a GPS how long it takes to get from where we are to the front door of the FBMG Academy. By the way, y'all, our address is 601 East 17th Street, Wilmington, Delaware. That's where you're going to come at on Saturday, September the 10th. 601 East 17th Street, Wilmington, Delaware. 53 miles from where I'm standing is 1 hour and 11 minutes. Here's my question to y'all, and I want you to be honest. Don't you lie to me. If I sent a bus up here every day to pick your child up at 7 o'clock and take him, drive him down to school, put him back on that bus, and get him back up here by 5, 6 o'clock, would you send your child?
Yes, I would. A couple of them.
Hey! She said, can I send my 45-year-old? We'll take it quick. Because here's what we do. Here's what we plan to do. We plan to have 2 buses from Jersey, 2 buses from Maryland, 2 buses from PA, 2 buses from Delaware. Right now, the plan for Jersey is Trenton and Camden. That's the plan. If we follow through with it, I will be having an interest meeting, probably right here, at our Food and Grill. Give a hand to the owners of this Black-owned restaurant for having Dr. Umar come. I thank them. Put a hand together for Sister Melissa for making it happen. I want everybody to take my phone number. Take your phone number. I'm giving you my cell. I'm giving you my cell. Ladies, I'm fresh off one scandal. I don't want no more. Don't be sending me nothing.
This is about business.
Business before the bedroom. Revolution before romance. Consciousness before the cookies. My cell number is 215-989-9858. You know about her. I'm about to marry somebody in that second row. 215-989-9858. One more time for my special ed parents. I'm picking with y'all. You was never special ed in the first place. 215-989-9858. That's how you reach me. Don't forget FBMGfestival.com. Okay, I probably will be having a free Black Parent teleconference. Today is Wednesday. I think I'm going to do it Friday morning. So this Friday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., if you have any questions about your child, education, or mental health, you're going to text myself, your name and your city, right? You can say, Sister Dorothy Trent. And I'm going to call you live while I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I do that so other people can learn from your story for their kids. Okay? I need to do that because the school year coming to a close. When do Trenton schools get out? June the 20th. And I need to make sure you parents don't make no mistakes as you close up the end of the year. But let me give you 7 pointers as we close. And then I'm going to take a few questions before I start signing books. Number 1. Before I give my number 1, who's the oldest person here today? Anybody here 80 years old? What's the age, elder? 77. Give our elder a hand. And who's the youngest? Do we have a woman with child in stomach? Okay. Y'all be making babies in Trenton. Now, I work here. What about? We got a 1-year-old. Where the 1-year-old at? Hand of the parent. Okay, and please give that mama a book. I want you to read it and tell her, mama. And by the time he goes to preschool, they can't run no games on you now. Okay?
Baby, his stomach back there.
Say again. Oh, still in the stomach? And give her 1 too. Unborn baby ancestor on the way. Yes. Brothers and sisters, before I give you these 7 tips, so we can wrap this up. If you want to perform at the festival on September 10th, there's an email address that you'll be able to email. And if you want to be a vendor selling your products, all of our vendors sold out last year after the festival. If you want to be a vendor, there's an email address for that too. I don't have it on me. You can text me for it by Monday. You can also go to fpgfestival.com and get it. Okay, if you want to perform on stage, sing, dance, instrument, poetry, and if you want to be a vendor, okay? For my vendors, I do not allow any fake hair perm stuff. Okay, just so you know. I don't want to see no blonde wigs on my shit. Yeah. If you want to work at the school, brothers and sisters, send me your resume. You can send your resume to FDMG Resumes. RESUMES. FDMG Resumes. RESUMES. Now, you don't have to be licensed in every area to teach at the school. So I'm not asking you to worry about your credentials. You better not have no child abuse record because you can't work at school. Okay? But I want y'all to know that I don't want you thinking about whether or not you have a public school teaching license. You don't need that for private school. You can get certified another way. In addition to math, science, language, and history, I need people who can teach African martial arts, gun and rifle training, survival skills in nature, fishing, hunting, natural hair care, raw and vegan food diet, website design, computer construction, documentary film producing, clothing manufacturing. Here's the question you should ask yourself if you want to be a part of FDMG. Do you have a skill that is worth our children learning? That's it. Do you have a skill that is worth our children learning? Let me give you an example. I know a brother who's one of the only black people in the country who still does copper roofing. You know, like how you see downtown in the old building? He knows how to copper your roof. He's going to teach that at the school. I know another brother who makes his own shoes. He's going to teach the kids how to make their own shoes. I got an elder who's going to donate 12 brand new sewing machines. And she's going to teach the children how to sew their own clothes. You understand? So ask yourself, what skill do I have that our children need to learn so they can make it in this racist, competitive world? We would love to have it. But you cannot be, if you're going to work at my school, volunteer or employee, you cannot be married to, dating, making babies with any alien culture. If you got an alien woman and alien man, stay your alien ass away from the first dozen small steps. If all goes well, and if the Marcus Garvey School is completely renovated by September the 10th, we're going to have a conference inside the school, as well as a festival on the street. So stay posted. I can't tell y'all the good news that's happening right now because the coons. Can I tell y'all what happened yesterday? My secretary was on the phone with the power company from Delaware. Guess who called into the power company, disguising themselves as me, trying to get information about FDMG? My leading coon on YouTube, whose initials are LH. Some of y'all know who I'm talking about. He literally called in while she was on the phone, and we heard the whole conversation. He tried to act like he was Dr. Umar, trying to get information about my account, but he didn't know the account number. This is how vindictive and trifling these people on YouTube are. So I'm asking you, don't give them none of your energy. Don't give them none of your attention. Because it is your views on YouTube that keep them up and running. YouTube is not going to take their page down because they're making too much money off my name. I am an algorithm for them. I'm an algorithm for TikTok. I'm an algorithm for Instagram. Everybody making money off my damn name but me. So I need me a social media attorney to see how I can get $1 for every time some little white kid on TikTok decides to make me a meme. Them damn Neanderthal kids is crazy. I'm all over the damn TikTok. I don't know you white people. What are you doing? 10 pointers for black parents. Number 1, don't get any child evaluated 7 years or younger. Kindergartners do not get tested for ADHD or learning problems. First, second, and third graders do not get tested for ADHD or learning problems. Why not, Dr. Umar? Because a child that young, there's no way I can prove that that's a reading problem. There's no way I can prove that's an emotional. There's no way I can prove that's an intellectual problem. The younger the child, the more likely the diagnosis is wrong. Did y'all hear what I just said? Stop taking 5-year-olds for ADHD evaluation. And what is ADHD anyway? It ain't attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's ain't no daddy at home disorder. He don't need medicine. He needs his daddy. If you 40 years old in here, most of you didn't have ADHD because you had a father who wasn't going to let you get it. My father's ADHD pill was right around his waist, the belt. I don't know what I can imagine coming home and telling my dad, I cursed my teacher out today. I think I need some drugs. What's wrong with y'all? No evals, 7 and younger. I prefer no evals, 4th grade or under. That's number 1. Number 2, autism is real, but autism is misdiagnosed in a lot of black kids. Take your time. Some of y'all want to get them evaluated for autism at 3 and 5. My suggestion, wait till they're 7. Well, Dr. Umar, the school wants me to get them tested now. Who can tell me why the school wants you to get them tested now? Money! They want to start them out. Of course they want them tested at 3 because special ed begins at 3 and they want to start getting paid. But if you're a black parent that care, you will slow down because Dr. Umar told you the younger they are, the more likely the label can be wrong. How do you know it's not a hearing problem? How do you know it's not a speech problem? How do you know it's not a social mutism problem? How do you know it's not a social anxiety problem? How do you know it's not a trauma problem? You don't know. So wait until you do know. Because if you put a kid who's not autistic around kids who are autistic, after 12 months, they will start looking and acting and imitating the autistic behavior. Next rule, don't sign any paperwork you get from New Jersey schools unless you read it and understand it. And if you don't understand it, you have my cell number. All you have to do is take a picture of it and text it to me. Dr. Umar, I'm in Trenton. I just got this letter. It don't make no damn sense. Can you please tell me what they're trying to do? And I'm going to tell you, that's a special ed evaluation permission form. But it don't say special ed, Dr. Umar. You know why? Because they know Dr. Umar is waking black parents up all over the country, so they're leaving the word special ed off the special ed permission. They are some slick devils. Don't sign it if you don't understand it. Next rule, don't go to any meeting about your child by yourself inside of a school. Take somebody with you. Black mother, take somebody with you. Black father, you better take somebody with you. Because if you don't, you're going to raise your voice at that white woman. She's going to say that you threatened her by your body language. You're going to be ushered out in handcuffs, and you will get a restraining order from that school. You won't be able to go to graduation or report cards. I know black fathers who can't even go to graduation because they got caught in the room with a white girl alone, and she lied and exaggerated on them. If you got to go by yourself, go Facebook Live and just take their ass. Don't go by yourself. Next rule for parents, this is especially for my mothers. Stop telling your personal family business to your child's teacher. Your child's teacher is not your life coach. Your child's teacher is not your counselor. Your child's teacher is not your social worker. And because black women don't have a good social support network amongst yourselves.
That's right.
Because you know, black women hate each other more than black men hate each other. I keep it real. Black women hate each other more than black men hate each other. There's nowhere a black woman can go and get supported by other black women in a non-judgmental, confidential setting unless she goes to Jesus or Muhammad. Outside of the church, black women don't have nowhere to go to talk, and that's why they're settling for these toxic relationships. So if there's one thing y'all sisters can do in Trinity, and you'll be the first in the country I know of to do it, and I travel all over the world, that is start a healthy healing circle for black women. Whatever your problem is, come and talk about it, and as sisters we swear to never divulge your privacy. We need it because black women are having nervous breakdowns like they never had them before.
Yes.
See, black women have been victimized by your own strength. You've been made to believe that you're not allowed to be vulnerable, which is the essence of being feminine. And black women have to take back your femininity. And black men, guess what? We got to take back our masculinity. No more skinny jeans, no more man bags, no more eyebrows arched, no more lip gloss, black men. We have to reclaim our masculinity because we're giving it up to the Rainbow Nation. I'm being serious. One of the reasons black women are dating street thugs, my brothers, is their feminine energy craves strong masculinity. And a lot of well-educated, successful black men no longer have the masculine swag that sisters crave. And so they're turning away the doctors, the lawyers, the business owners, and they get with Mike, and Tay-Tay because Mike, and Tay-Tay make them feel safe. So for those of us who are professional and educated, take back your masculinity. As African people, we don't do no unisex thing. We are men and we are women. And you better teach your child that. Because when we were growing up, we had to fight to prove our blackness. Our kids now got to fight to prove their gender. So you can't just raise them to be black and proud. You got to raise them to be a black man and proud, a black woman and proud. Somebody said, are you going to let homosexual kids come to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy? My answer was, of course I will. And they said, ain't that a contradiction in what you stand for? Absolutely not. Why not? Because there's no such thing, in my opinion, as a gay boy. There's no such thing, in my opinion, as a lesbian girl. There's only children who have been convinced outside of their God-given nature as to who they should be. And at the FDMG, I ain't even got to talk about that rainbow stuff. All I got to do is show him what real manhood is. And our females will show the girls what real womanhood is, and they will naturally come back to their God-given nature, brothers and sisters. Stop giving your power to these devils. The white man does not rule the universe. God does. But the reason God doesn't answer the prayers of black people is because we no longer take care of business. How many black people in the old folks' home in Trenton right now being mistreated, misfed, mismedicated? Our elders are dying in the old folks' homes. We are people who never believed in an old folk home. And look where our elders at. Our kids are all in foster care. We got black homeless people all over the community. But when the last time you seen a homeless Chinese person? When the last time you seen a homeless East Indian? They won't do it. They will not allow it because it's all for one. And it's one for all. And we got to get back to that. I want to close with a quote. And we'll take a few questions. From my ancestor, Frederick Douglass. My family came to America in 1701. A black man named Bailey, stolen from the Igbo nation of Nigeria, according to the history. He was brought to Talbot County, Eastern Shore, Maryland. He married a black woman, my grandma Selah, for whom my 10-year-old daughter is named. In 1745, she had Grandma Jenny. 1774, she had Grandma Betsy. Grandma Betsy was born a slave, but she married a free black man, Grandpa Isaac. They had 12 children. One daughter was named Harriet. Another daughter was named Betsy, my 5 times great-grandmother, named after her mother. These 2 sisters, Betsy and Harriet, were raped by Aaron Anthony, the white man who owned our family. As a result of that rape, in February of 1818, Aunt Harriet gave birth to arguably the greatest black leader in American history. His name, Frederick Bailey. At the age of 20, Fred Bailey ran away from slavery in Baltimore, Maryland, through Wilmington, up to Philadelphia, and in New York, he changed his name to hide his identity on the fugitive slave trail. So Frederick Bailey became Frederick Douglass. In 1819, the very next year after Frederick was born, my grandmother, Betsy, gave birth to Frederick's half-brother and first cousin, my 4 times great-grandfather, Stephen Henry Bailey. Cousins, because the mothers were sisters. Brothers, because the slave master raped those sisters. My grandfather, Stephen, married Grandma Caroline. She didn't learn how to read till 1909. On November the 14th of 1841, they gave birth to my 3 times great-grandfather, George Washington Bailey, the first black public school teacher in Denton, Maryland, hometown of Harriet Tubman's parents. Grandpa George married Grandma Annie. She was the niece of Bishop Alexander Wayman, 7th Bishop of the AME Church. The Civil War starts in 1861. Frederick doesn't go, but he sends his 2 sons. My cousins Lewis and Charles, they go north to Boston, Massachusetts. They fight in the 54th Massachusetts Colored Regiment. If you've ever seen the movie Glory, Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman, that's the story of the sons of Frederick Douglass. My grandfather Stephen and his son, my grandfather George, fought in the United States Colored Troops of Maryland. My grandfather Stephen was in Galveston, Texas on June the 19th, 1865, when General Gordon Granger read Special Order Number 3, emancipating all Africans in Texas previously held in bondage, giving birth to what? The Juneteenth holiday. My grandfather was there. After slavery ended, Grandpa George and Grandma Annie had Grandma Caroline. She moved from Maryland to Philadelphia. She had Grandma Vivian. Grandma Vivian marries a Spanish-speaking Cuban immigrant from Havana, my great-grandfather Cicero, who I met on his deathbed before he went to the ancestors. And Grandma Vivian and Grandpa Cicero had my Grandma Ida, who we buried 3 years ago. Grandma Ida married James Johnson. They had Jamal Johnson. He met and married Barbara. And on August the 21st, the anniversary of the Nat Turner War, the anniversary of the Haitian Revolution, the anniversary of the George Jackson War, the anniversary of Emmett Till's arrival in Money, Mississippi, the anniversary of Frederick Douglass's Fugitive Slave Convention, and the original birthday of Jesus Christ before they changed it to December 25th. I was born in North Philadelphia. Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess the faith of freedom and deprecate agitation are like men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want the rain but can't stand the thunder or the lightning. They want the ocean but they're scared of the awful roar of the water. Frederick Douglass said, a man may not get all you pay for, but you will pay for all that you get. And if we as a people are ever to become free of the injustices inflicted upon us, we will pay for their removal. We may pay with blood. We may pay with words. We may pay with blows. We may pay with our life. But he who wants to be free must himself strike the first blow. Frederick said, if a man ain't willing to fight for his own freedom, he ain't worth having nobody else fight for it either. Such a man should lay on the ground until he got sense enough to get up. And there's no need to help him up, because if the man ain't ready to stand on his own too, the minute you let him go, his head will be brought against a curb stone. Frederick said, for 20 years, I prayed on my knees to God for freedom. For 20 years, New Jersey, he said, I prayed on my knees to God for freedom. But the good Lord gave Frederick Douglass no freedom until I got up off my knees and started praying with my feet. He said, if you want respect, why you look for pity for white people? The man who pities you will never respect you. The man who respects you has no need for pity, but power conceals nothing without a limit. It never did, and it never will. He who is whipped the easiest will be whipped the most. The Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the man who gave us the red, black, and green flag, the largest black organization in modern history, the greatest organizer in human history, and the only leader of a mass movement to build that organization without the use of Islam or Christianity, said, if the black man and woman are not careful, you will drink in all the poison of Western civilization and you will die from the effects of it. Garvey said the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. Garvey said, power and strength is the only satisfaction you can have to exist on this world. A people without power, a people without authority, are a people without respect. Garvey was asked, are you an African or are you a Jamaican? Are you an African or are you a Jamaican? And Marcus Garvey stood up in all his blackness and all his melanin, and he said, you asked me, am I African or am I Jamaican? And I say to you, I would never, ever, ever give up a continent for an island. I am African. Yesterday, today, for all time. Trenton, New Jersey, one love, black family. One love. What I want to do is I want to take maybe 6 questions. 3 from the brothers and 3 from the sisters, so we don't hold people back who want to take a photo with Dr. Umar, get a book signed. If you want to purchase a book, they're on that table. I also have some face masks with my various names, King Kong, Controversial, Apologetic, ARS. Face masks are, I'll repeat the question though, guys. $50 for the book. You can use cash, you can use your credit card, we have an iPad. You can also use your cash app. If you're paying for the book with your cash app, don't send it to the school, this is mama. $, Dr. Umar Johnson. You must use Johnson. If you put D-R-U-M-A-R alone, that is a fake cash app that the coons create. You must put D-R-U-M-A-R-J-O-H-N-S-O-N. That's the correct cash app. Send the money. When you get to the table, one of the queens will give you a book. Make sure you get a bookmark with your book as well that has my contact info. Now to the questions. Number 1, my brother. Number 2, my brother. Any queens? Number 3, my brother. Queen, mother, you're number 1. Any more queens with a question? Is that a queen in the back? Number 2. My eyes ain't that good. I'm sorry, lovely. Number 3. I'm going to take the queens first, and then we'll go to the brothers. Queen, mother. I will repeat the question. Go ahead, Queen.
Yeah, I'm gonna say cash up. I have a cash up on my. Okay, you want the book? Yeah. Okay. Is that it? Just the book?
I'm gonna repeat it.
How do we help raise the consciousness of our community as far as standing up for themselves, to protect themselves and to protect their children? Because that is one of the components that is missing in this community that I've been raised in for the last 66 years, is that we don't have a and we don't have enough women that is consciously involved to bring out children.
Great question. How do we raise the consciousness up with what we are facing, especially given the fact that we don't have enough men and enough women with the consciousness? Couple things. One, there's enough of us to make a difference, but we're disorganized and disunited. That's the first problem. In this room, 25 of us might be dead serious about the movement, but we don't know who each other are. One of the things we're going to do at the festival is you're going to get a card. That card is going to list all the organizations that are under the Team Pan African umbrella. You might want to be a part of the National Independent Black Parent Association to fight against school racism and special ed racism and psychiatric medication racism in Trenton schools. That's one area. We also have the Bishop Turner National Independent Black Political Movement for black people who want to run for office as an independent at the U.S. Congress. That's another movement. Okay? Then we also have Unapologetically African, which is a culturally conscious movement to raise the vibration and the spirit in our community. See, then we also have the International Movement for the Independence and Protection of African People. Those are for those of us who have a Pan-African mindset and want to build bridges with Africans in other parts of the world. And then you also have, of course, the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy. And we're also building for the brothers, National Independent Movement to Save Black Males. We're going to need to do the same thing for the women. Okay? But at the festival, we're going to organize you. Make sure you fill out that card. You're going to be hearing from me, and once the school is up and running, y'all will be spending a lot of time down in Wilmington. Some of y'all might even end up moving down there. They have the Wilmington Land Bank. The houses are really cheap. I think they give you like 2 years to fix them up. Make sure you go to wilmingtonlandbank.gov. wilmingtonlandbank.gov. I know a lot of black people who have already bought houses. Some have renovated them in anticipation of my school. So get in now.
Corinne just bought 3. Shout out to Corinne.
Shout out to Corinne. One love. So we're going to organize. That's one. For the adults. On the children, we can give them consciousness. But if we don't give them no opportunities at life, they'll turn away from the consciousness. When I speak at the prisons, those brothers are conscious. They know the knowledge, but they had no opportunity. That's why they had to break the law. Knowledge of self is necessary, but it's not sufficient. We got to make sure we are financing the dreams and small businesses of black men and black. Somebody got to get robbed. So we got to make sure we have the opportunities. I'm looking forward to having you work with us. Queen.
Hi, my question is, the initial label with my child was ADHD.
Yes.
He was born in Brooklyn. Before the termination, I said no. They then said, I said no.
What grade was he in when they said ADHD and was too young?
Exactly. I taught for 5 years. The advisor, this thing that he was diagnosed with ASD.
Autism spectrum
Yes.
disorder.
So, I guess my question for you is, considering I'm still fighting, I don't want to pay for the attorney at this point, could you provide counsel with parents like me?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because
You should have put a copy of that binder here today, so I could have took it back to Philly, but I don't want your original.
Oh.
Copy only. You can email it to me or you can postal mail it.
Okay.
Okay? But text me and we can schedule a consult. I charge $75 for the consult. Don't worry about the time. It ain't about the money. I'm going to stay with you until the case is won. So if you need to get me the paperwork, if you need to do that consultation. All right, that's what I do. Also, if your child is classified as intellectually disabled, I review the evaluation for free. If your child is walking around with a mental retardation, intellectual disability label, you don't have to pay me anything. I review those for free. You want to know why? It's the most stigmatizing label you can give a child, to call them retarded or intellectually disabled. And black kids are overly misdiagnosed as intellectually disabled when they're not. So if your child is called intellectually disabled, retarded, you need to get Dr. Umar the evaluation. Let me take a look at it, because you might have a lawsuit. At the very least, we need an independent evaluation. Remember, if you don't agree with the evaluation from the public or the charter school, remember, charter schools are public schools. Charter schools are public schools. Charter schools are public schools.
Stop letting them make you think they can make up their own rules. They can't. Okay? The charter school, if they evaluate your child and you don't agree with the eval, you have a right to a second opinion. It's an independent eval. All you have to do is write a letter to the principal. I got the eval. I don't think my son has autism. I don't think my daughter is reading disabled. I'm requesting an independent educational evaluation. Once you approve my request, I will provide you with the name of the psychologist I've chosen to conduct the eval. So we got to find y'all some conscious black school psychologists in training. Maybe up in Newark. Maybe it's some in Newark. There you go, right there. Okay, good question. Number 3, who's the queen back there with the hand? Right there, go right ahead, sis.
Thank you, Dr. Umar.
Thank you.
I just like you to expand a little bit or talk a little bit about reparations.
About
Reparations.
reparations. Great question. And then we got our 3 brothers, and that'll be it for tonight. Reparations, I support it. Marcus Garvey is the father of modern reparations. He was the first to send a delegation to the League of Nations after World War I, demanding that the German territories in Africa be turned over to the UNIA to create a nation for Africans in the diaspora who wanted to come home. My problem with reparations is there's too many groups, they're disorganized. There was one slavery, we came from one Africa, and it should be one reparations fight. It can have components, but it should be organized, and it's not. The white man is going to use divide and conquer, separate and rule, and play us against each other. Let me give you an example. There's 50 million Africans in America. There's approximately 50 million Africans across the entire Caribbean islands. If the Caribbean islands say, you owe us 50 million, how can black America say, you owe us 500 million? You see that? The white man is going to look at this argument and say, how can you ask for that if they ask for this? We got to get organized. In addition to that, I don't hear anybody in the reparations fight talking about the psychological costs of the Ma'afa, of slavery, of Jim Crow, of Willie Lynch. Do you know they owe us more for what they did to this than they can ever owe us for the unpaid labor of our ancestors? The psychological damage we're still living with. Those 223 years of unpaid wages, that's nothing compared to what you did to the mind and the collective consciousness of God's first people. I don't hear nobody talking. Another problem I got with reparations, why is everybody reducing it to $1 amount? Do we not know America's money doesn't have a minimum value? America's money isn't on the gold standard, silver standard, oil standard, platinum standard. It's a promissory note. And you know how good the white man is with his promises to the people. I don't want money at the top of the list. If you want it, it's at the bottom. Cash cannot be at the top. Because what is the Federal Reserve doing right now? They're about to manipulate the interest rate to manipulate the value of money. Guess what they would do the day after they do reparations? Manipulate the interest rate. Manipulate the value of money to make what we pay black people almost worthless. We cannot let money be the standard. That is a trap. And that's why I'm disappointed with Bob Johnson, former owner of BET, who sold it to the Jews in 2000. Bob Johnson said America only need give us $350,000 apiece. Can I ask you a question? What the hell are you going to buy in New Jersey? For 300, what's that, a house, maybe? It may be a little car, right? You're telling me the greatest unnatural disaster in recorded history, the worst forced transmigration in human history, the most evil and diabolical dehumanizing process ever known to man. And in exchange for the unpaid labor of my ancestors that will forever benefit this country, you want to give me a house and a car? I think not. Another issue I got. Why do I only hear about America, or the UK, or France, or Germany? What about the Arabs? Why are we not talking about the Arabs who was trading Africans in slavery before the white man and still trading them now? And no disrespect to my Muslim brothers, promise y'all no hard. But I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of African American Muslims are defending and protecting the Arab nations from accountability for their enslavement in the name of Islam. And it's disrespectful and ignorant, and that's why I got a lot of problems with some African American Sunni Orthodox Muslim brothers, because they think being Muslim means you got to protect Arabs, and I'm against it. Now, with that being said, What would be on my reparations list? I'm going to give you 4 things. Number 1, all music ever created by black people becomes our permanent exclusive property. All of Michael Jackson's music, all of Prince's music, all of Sam Cooke's music, Donny Hathaway, every black artist that you murdered, Prince, Whitney, all of them. Clive Davis had Whitney killed because she saw that she didn't get all the money that she was entitled to. Yes, Whitney was murdered too. All of their music comes to the black community, and nobody gets to sell their music unless we pay. We own the publishing, we own the distribution, we own the concerts that sell the music and promote the music and use the music. Do you realize black music is America's 2nd largest export? If we owned our music, we would have enough money to make every black community a Black Wall Street over now. I don't hear nobody talking about the damn music. Number 2, what about all the land white people stole from our ancestors? I'm talking about the 1890s and the 1920s and the Tulsa and the Rosewoods and the Charleston, South Carolinas and the where's our land? Part of reparations means what? A reclamation of all land stolen from African people, especially now because we're being gentrified out of the inner cities. We need to know what land is ours. I don't hear nobody talking about it. Number 3, all black inventions are returned to the black community. Permanent product with a patent that does not expire. Why that light on? That light is on because a black man by the name of Dr. Lewis Latimer wrote a textbook that taught countries how to light up an entire city at night. China didn't know how to do it. So they brought Lewis Latimer to China, and you think they're so smart. They brought Lewis Latimer to London, to Canada. He, a black man, is the reason you can see at night. What about the helicopters? Before we invented the helicopter, they couldn't make the plane stand still in the air. There was a black person who came up with the aerial technology for the helicopter to float. What about the Mr. Softy refrigerated trucks? How do you get produce all over the world in a truck? Because black people created that process. You got a cell phone in your pocket. Who invented it? We did. The internet, the whole world uses it. And who invented the internet? We did. If you take what we created in this country and gave it all back to us, America would have to change her name because she's nothing without you. The problem is we think we're nothing without her. I support reparations, but I believe that the FBI and the CIA is controlling it behind the scenes. I think they got a bunch of coons out front keeping us away from discussing the real things we should be discussing in reparations. I'm going to give you one more, and I'll take my 3 questions from the brothers. 60% of all black people in this country are concentrated in 10 states. I believe New Jersey is one of them. Florida, Texas, Maryland, Virginia, Illinois, Michigan, California, Louisiana. There's 10 states. And guess what? Each of the 10 states borders the water. So, in my opinion, we should be demanding that black people own the major port in each of the 10 states where we predominate in terms of population. That way you control everything going out, you control everything coming in, and God forbid, in the event of a race war, we got our ships ready to take our asses straight to Africa. Y'all feel me? Yes. Much respect to our brothers in the what's the organization that's wants a few states in the South? Black Socialist Group. I forget it. But you got organizations who want some states, but they asking for the states in the middle of the damn country. Why the hell do I want the white man to put 50 million blacks in the middle of the country, no access to water, nowhere to go, so he can poison us, COVID us to death, mess with the soil, the land? We gotta be smarter than that. What is Bill Gates doing right now? Buying up all the farmland. Bill Gates ain't no damn farmer. He ain't no doctor either, but he's sure expert on COVID, ain't he? Because he paid for it. Bill Gates is buying the farmland up so he can pollute the soil, pollute the crops, and bring about ethnic cleansing of African people. They want us going. The reason they can't do it easily is because we're God's first people and we're God's chosen people. Being chosen ain't got nothing to do with Christian, Muslim, or Hebrew. I know it's going to hurt some feelings, that they got a damn thing to do with it. We are older than Islam. We are older than the Hebrew faith. We older than Christianity. Nothing wrong with the religions now. I want to be clear. But just understand understand, you predate all of them. God's chosen people are the African people because we are the only people with divine DNA. This is why black women have to be careful on these streets. These black women are not being kidnapped by random killers. They're being kidnapped by the government. And the reason the government is kidnapping black women is they're trying to isolate the mitochondrial DNA of the black woman. You're the only woman with the Eve gene. They need to isolate and be able to reproduce the Eve gene. Henrietta Lacks, she was not the only sister with themselves. Every black woman got themselves because you're the first human. The first human was a black woman. I know the Bible told you, but you never get over that eventually. The black woman was first. The black woman, and you have DNA and genes that the white man is trying to extrapolate to use it to help his people live longer. Please tell your daughters, don't get in the car with strangers. Don't even get in the car with the police. Don't get in the car with white men with suits, because these kidnappings are not random crazy people. This is the U.S. government using black women for research monkeys. Let's take my brothers. Yes, sir. Where that Gatorade at, Sister Melissa? I want that Gatorade.
I want to ask you a question about the LGBT agenda.
LGBTQIA plus!
On Facebook to this preacher, he's white. And they were talking about the LGBT education that the governor, white, and the mayor of the city is all pushing. And they were like, Darryl, we're out here protesting, speaking out about the agenda.
Hold that Gatorade, Melissa. I got these two waters. Go ahead, Keith.
He said, we're out here protesting, trying to stop this crazy agenda that the Democrats, white Democrats, are pushing in the black students, especially, and white students. And the white people out there saying, oh no, we ain't having it. But the blacks seem to accept it and just go along with it because they're white Democrats for mayors and governors in New Jersey. Do you think there's an agenda, and what should black people in this city do about it?
It is an agenda.
All right.
The agenda is all about us. I can't believe we're supporting it. Now, let's be clear. I don't advocate hate.
Black gay people, there are black trans people.
I understand. But black men, if you want to ask the question, you can do it with respect. What you ain't going to do, you're not going to do that. I will give you the floor, all right? I'm going to make you number 4. I'm going to respect you because you got something to say, but do it with respect. We got to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. You feel me? Hold your peace until you get your time.
Slow down.
Don't do that, because I don't want to have the brothers to take you out of here. You're still a part of the family. Hold your peace until your time. Can you do that? All right, continue. You number 4. You want to get your chance. Go ahead.
Okay. So, what do you think about that and the agenda?
I-
To educate, to push that through education.
I'm trying to understand how less than half of the black boys in 4th grade in the country can read on their grade level. Did y'all hear what I just said? Less than half of the black boys in America in the 4th grade can't read on the 4th grade level, but you got time to teach them gay sex. Half of the black boys in the 8th grade in America can't count on the 8th grade level, but you got time to teach them about this. Here's my issue, and I want everybody to hear me. I don't care if you pro or anti. That ain't the question. Here is the question. Children do not begin to develop sexual attraction to the opposite gender until pre-puberty. 12, maybe 11. That's when you get your first sign of, one day I want to be with a woman. One day I want to be with a man. That's when you start getting your pubic hair, girls go through their menses, boys get preparing for reproduction, right? You cannot experience lust until your body is able to reproduce. Lust is Mother Nature enticing you to reproduce. Okay? So if children don't develop an urge to reproduce until 11 and 12, why are they being taught about any kind of sex? I don't care if it's gay. I don't want no 5, 6, 7-year-old learning about any kind of sex, because that is not developmentally appropriate. That's my point. That's my point. And shouldn't be doing it. Here's because it's not developmentally appropriate. And for black people who know the history of white people's sexual culture, we should be going off right now. That white folks are trying to push their cultural behavior onto us. If white folks want to promote that, that's your culture, that's what y'all do, have fun. But how dare you come to the oldest people on earth and tell us we got to live like y'all just because we live with y'all. Hell no. And that's why we got to open up our own schools. It ain't about hating nobody. It's all about, do you believe our ancestors gave us a blueprint to live by? And if you do, that's it. If you think what the white man is offering is better than what your ancestors had to offer as it relates to building family, then you do that. See, I don't promote hate. I talk to homosexuals, I talk to lesbians, I even do therapy with some of them. I've done it with them. As much as people try to promote me as a hater of LGBTQ, I'm somebody they can actually come to and talk to.
Facts.
Y'all understand that? So they can hate. But as an African and as a proud black man, I reserve the right to disagree with any behavior, any agenda, any initiative, any scheme designed to reduce the numbers of my race. It's just that. That was my first brother. Who's my second brother? No, you're fourth, because it's three, you're fourth. Who's the other brother with a hand? You have a hand, or you still in the number? Go ahead, take it, my brother.
Basically, my name is Roger, representing TTG certification program. Recently, as a work
Certification for?
IT.
Oh, wow, okay.
Basically, I wanted to talk to you. Do you think that we should start moving our high school away from colleges and more towards certification programs?
Absolutely. I love the certification idea. Send me some info on your program, you feel me? I might need to include that into FDMG. We need the certs. Not only do we need the certs, we also need to put our kids back in trade school. One thing I remember about Trenton has a trade school. Because we used to, do they still have it? But okay, West Windsor, but it's still around. If I lived in Trenton, my child after high school would go to that state-owned trade school, spend 2 years, get his license to be a plumber, electrician, carpenter, HVAC tech, mechanic, welder. 2 years, most of them go for free. And now you got a license for the rest of your life. That's a whole lot better than you parents spending $30,000 a year sending your child to New Jersey State University so they can get a PhD in grasshopper reproduction under the moon. Y'all know what the hell I'm talking about. Because most of us in the black community got degrees that are absolutely useless, that we don't use, and we're going to be paying back loans for the next 1,000 years because nobody told us it's better to learn how to use your hands than what white people believe. It's better to learn how to use your hands. I'm seeing it at FUG. These contracts we pay, they spend in 1 week 100 grand for this. 2 weeks, 250 grand. I said, you make more money than the church. They do. Now, if your child absolutely wants to go to college, absolutely, and you can answer 3 questions for me positively, send them. Question number 1, do they have the discipline to finish without you living with them? Don't send no lazy ass child halfway across the country to some HBCU if you know all they're going to do is party, smoke weed, and get a freak on. You know your son, and you know your damn daughter. She's hot. I'm just being real. You don't need to pay $30,000 to know she was going to get pregnant. This is what I would do. I got a lazy kid that want to go to college, no problem. You can go to Mercer County Community College. Get your associates, make it 3.5 or higher, and then I'll pay your ass to go to Morehouse. I'll see you in Florida State. I'll see you in Howard and Hampton and Chain and Wheaton and Blue. You know what I mean? But make them earn it. Make them earn it. But if it was up to me, then we go to trade school first. Because what America is doing right now, the government and the banks and the colleges are running a scam on Black America. And they're putting all of us into long-term debt in the name of education. Question number 2, is your child majoring in something relevant? Listen, if your son say he want to go to college for art history, you can study that shit at the local library. I'm not spending 30 grand so you can look at naked gay white male bodies. You feel me? It got to be relevant. Law, education, engineering, medicine, social work. It better be something that can earn you a livable wage. If it can't earn you a livable wage, I'm not paying for it. Number 3, most important. Do they have the discipline? Are they majoring in something relevant? And are you certain they're going to complete till the end of the term? There's nothing worse than your child going for 3 years and decide they want to do something different. And then you got to pay off 80 grand and you ain't got no paperwork. Make sure they can finish. If it was up to me, trade school would be the way to go. If you look at all the new projects being built in Trenton, all the new government buildings, you see who built them? Mexicans, Chinese, white men. Where we at? We got the degrees, no skills and licenses. I'm telling y'all right now, I'm thinking about going back to trade school. Because I'm like, shit, if y'all paying this, I need to get up there and mess with some electric switches. Because I plan on opening up schools all over the world. So if I can learn how to do the plumbing, or the electric, or the HVAC, that's one less bill that we got to pay. I'm seriously looking at getting one of them trade jobs because they're making too much money. They're making too much money. Send your sons and your daughters to trade school. They can go to college after they're done. And they can make enough money to pay their own college. That's my bill with that. Good question. Who was the number 3 before I take number 4? There was another brother. Go ahead, King.
What do you think about the NFC team?
In FAC?
Yeah.
What's my brother's name? The leader.
Yeah.
Grandmaster. I don't know. Is he out?
That's what I'm checking.
I'm not sure. I hope he's out. I thought that was a trumped up charge for them to lock him up because he pointed his gun at somebody standing on the roof who had a gun. What the hell are you supposed to do? You always up there pointing at me. And guess what? He didn't even aim to shoot. He was aiming to look through the glass to see who it was when they locked him up. So I hope he get out. Here's my thing with INFAC. The good and then my concern. The good is I appreciate that many black people coming together to march and show black people that we got people who's willing to die for us. I can't take that from them at all. We haven't seen that type of organization since the original Black Panther Party, the Guardian Legionnaires, and of course the new Black Panther Party. We've been doing it consistently for a very long time. Here's my concern. When you bring that many black people together who you do not know and are not trained, it is the perfect opportunity for the FBI to put somebody in there, to shoot at somebody, and start a damn war that you ain't ready to fight. My biggest concern with the AFAC, with them formations, because they have real guns and real bullets, it only takes one coon in there to fire off at a cop or a white vigilante group, and all hell will break loose. I thought he was moving a little reckless with the size without it having been screened. I'm not taking that many people with guns unless I investigate everybody coming in my formation.
That's right.
And Grandmaster was growing so fast he didn't have time to. You can do that if you're building a parent organization. You can do that if you're building a school. You can't do that when you're dealing with guns and bullets. That's life and death. So once he comes back out here, I want the brother to be a little bit more strategic with how he moves. Because I know the FBI, y'all know him too. Remember Dr. King, who was murdered a month ago, 55 years ago, April the 4th? Remember when he did the Memphis, Tennessee sanitation workers strike? The FBI, remember the guy started the riot? Guess what we found out? Those were paid FBI agents who were sent into the Dr. King march to start the riot. So when I saw that with the Grandmaster, I'm like, Grandmaster, you kind of playing with fire, bro. It's okay to be large if you scream very hard. But to just tell black people from anywhere to show up with a gun, I can't be a part of that. I know how this government is. I can't
What's
trust
the
that.
screening process look like?
Well, you want to investigate everybody. You want to find out who they are, where they come from, what their background is. Did they ever work for the government? What branch? Who their parents are? You do an investigation the same way you do with anybody else. Same way they do in the military. I couldn't join the military if I wanted to. You understand? So we got to do the same thing because you're dealing with lives. That's my only thing. You're dealing with lives. So I just want him to be a little bit more careful. We building a militia too, but we keeping it quiet. But we screening people. And for those of y'all who are serious about joining a Pan-Africanist militia, you'll be able to sign up for that too at the block party. Men and women. It's going to be a serious thing, but it's going to be confidential. We're not going to be all out. But when it's time for us to stand up for our people, we're going to be right there. Don't sell your guns. Don't give your guns away. Get more guns. Get more ammunition. Make sure your kids got guns. That's right. Buy a master gun and show them how to use it. Because one day he might have to use it to defend his mother's life. And you want to make sure. I'm tired of black folks talking about, I don't believe in guns, I believe in Jesus. Stop the lies and the crap. This is not no fantasy world. These white folks in New Jersey are up in these mountains and they are practicing and preparing and they are praying for the government to deputize them to come to church. Be ready for it. If you can't have one gun, you gotta have enough guns to give everybody on the block one because all the ex-offenders ain't allowed to carry. Y'all follow me? You can't have no one box of bullets. You gotta have boxes of bullets and you gotta know how to make your own bullets. Also, you need to make sure that your house is disaster prepared. Do you have enough food to last the family for 90 days if you can't go outside? Do you have a way to dispose of human waste and child waste if you can't go outside for 90 days? Do you have enough batteries? Do you have enough flashlights? Do you have enough water? Do you have enough non-perishable goods? If you ain't got a couple buckets of beans and a couple buckets of rice, okay, do you have a pot that you can operate off of a, sterno? Off the sterno. Thank you for that. You need the sternos, you need the portable pot, you also need the radio that cranks. You need a crankable radio. Remember, you gotta survive without direct electric current. So you need batteries, you need light, you need fire. Brothers and sisters, don't wait. Do you see what's going on right now? If you go to the supermarket, I know you notice, the shelves are drying up. Have y'all noticed? And do you know why the shelves are drying up? COVID caused a back order in all of the supplies. Right? Now, trivia question. Who's the world's largest supplier of food and cheap goods and everyday housing? China. China. Who is in China's side with right now? Russia. America got an issue with Russia. So guess what China is doing to pay back America? They got all their shits out there, sitting in the water, can't get in because it's too crowded, and China don't want to let them in to show America how much your people depended on our cheap shit too. China is the Walmart of the planet Earth, and everybody is noticing that now with the COVID. Brothers and sisters, we don't know how long they're going to leave them ships out there. We don't even know if that food will be any good when they allow them to finally die. Start stocking now. Please get your water up. Learn how to clean your water. Learn how to clean your urine. There's a process for cleaning urine if you have to. Please get ready. Some of y'all not even thinking about an emergency disaster. But guess what white folks in New Jersey do? They have websites. They're having meetings. White folks are buying warehouses and they are stashing everything in the warehouse for the whole white community. Where is Trenton's warehouse? If Trenton floods, what is the highest ground in Trenton? What's the lowest ground in Trenton? Where are all the access points in Trenton? If we got to get everybody out the city, because y'all surrounded by water too. Yes. We got to know the evacuation routes. All of our ex-military brothers and sisters, this is your job. You should have the whole plan on paper if you ex-military. This is what we're going to do for food. This is what we're going to do for self-defense. This is what we're going to do for lighting. This is what we're going to do for evacuation. Marcus Garvey said, be prepared. We are not prepared. Let's get there. Last question to my brother.
Yeah, so just stating where I'm coming from.
Speak up a little bit.
Just stating where I'm coming from. I'm a member of Black Lives Peace. I work with all African people representing party. Are you good with me?
I'm very good.
So you understand I identify as Pan-African.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you LGBTQ?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it would matter. Right?
Well, I like to know people's orientation when I speak, whether it be Democrat, Republican, Pan-African, individuals, heterosexual, LGBTQ.
Pause for a second, because again, for the conversation I'm having, who I fuck.
There's children here. Children here.
You cursed multiple times.
I didn't say that. Children here, my brother.
Okay, well, okay, so
You so full of rage.
so the organizing I do, I find what you do in conflict with Pan-African organizing I do. So one of the main things because it all uses together, right? So one of the main things I find problematic is you separate Pan-Africanism from socialism. I don't understand why.
Okay, keep going. I want you to get it all
I
out.
just know, I want.
We're not gonna go point for point. Get it all out, and then I'm gonna respond to what I want to respond to. So I got your first one. Pan-Africanism, socialism.
Why do you separate Pan-Africanism from socialism?
That's your first point. What's the next one?
That's it. No, that's it. I'm not.
But then you blurt out about the LGBTQ.
No, because look, when I hear violent shit, when I hear shit.
Who said violence?
Look, brother, I'm not gonna have that conversation.
Who
This is the
said
question.
violence? Did anybody hear any conversation about violence? I don't promote violence, bro. Don't put that on
For
me.
me, again, someone who organizes, I organize against people who are trans, who are non-binary. What you say is dangerous to their lives.
What did I say
Brother,
that's
you're not
dangerous?
interrupting, I'm continuing.
No, listen.
So I'm not gonna have this conversation. Can you just answer my question? It's not, it's
The people say they don't want to finish that, brother. The people have voted that down.
Can we get to the side? I want to be
They're ready for the flip side. Everybody put your hands together. Trenton, New Jersey. I love you. Whoa, 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 whoa. I think we got another one. The sister right there, keep an eye on her. She with her brother. Okay. Let's go back to why I didn't let him finish what he was saying. He said a whole lot. But nobody took that much time, sister. He had more time than any other. Would you agree? You gotta stop trying to hide the intensity of negativity. When you come down the sun.
That's crazy, yo.
Y'all give it up for Dr. Umar Johnson! Shout out to the owner of the Food Bar and Grill. Thank you. This venue will not be possible without her offering her room and her venue. Thank you so much. Y'all make sure y'all go to every venue table and support. Thank you to I Put On for making this happen as well. Thank you to Chelsea for making the flyer. Thank you to and thank y'all all for coming. Y'all let's turn up.
All right, we're gonna get the room. Can I hold the mic, right, Doctor?
I'll be over here. I know.
Just back it up just a little bit.
You must have heard me.